Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Kunyan.
Well, hello. And who do we have here in the studio? It's Todd Medina. Welcome to our Bioactivator platform, brother. It's a real honor to have you on our show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, sorry for all the viewers out there. We had a little bit of a technical issue to start off with the mic issues, but it's all under control now. So really excited. Yeah, Todd, I just want to just fairly recently had the privilege of seeing you on Jesse Howe Missing Link, and that was you were on fire, brother. I mean that was, I think it was well over 2.5 hours of mouth-watering, energetic there. I've been following you the last couple of years. But that was pretty immense, if I may say so. I just also want to quickly, before I hand the mic to you, I just want to, over the years, I've been following you and seeing the amazing people you've had on your show. One particular one I just want to give tribute to is Franco.
Oh, yeah.
Because October 2021, believe it or not, shortly after seeing him on your show, I actually reached out to Franco, and funny enough, he was going through a process like accommodation situation where there was a bit of a transition. He was moving from one place to another, and he said he was quite excited about the prospect of us communicating, but sadly, shortly after, I think within a couple of weeks, he transitioned. But I honor and respect this individual. So Franco, if you're listening and you're viewing, thank you, love you, brother. And also, quickly as well, don't want to steal the show, but you've had amazing people on your show. Just want to quickly remind ourselves, you've had Magenta Pixie. I've actually got I think I've got one of her books here.
Oh, yeah.
This is Divine Architecture and the Starseed Template, and she's just absolute amazing lady, and I feel that you've interviewed her a few times, so bless you for that. And also you've had Judith Kuzel from South Africa, wonderful lady. And of course you've had David Icke, you've had Rick Jewers. I'm actually fairly fond of Rick because I'm also very familiar with what he's the founder of GPMS World, which stands for Global People's Monetary System and Simplified Divine Plan. He's been a game changer for myself and this platform, because this platform is about do no harm as well. It's based on guardianship and do not impose on the freedom of others. We invite people to come in. It's all about creating an atmosphere of people feeling neutralized, harmonized, and to stay centered. And I believe that we have quite a lot in common, brother. And before handing the mic to you, having had the privilege of listening to Jesse and yourself, you mentioned about your channel, which is going to go 24/7 end of this month, which you will put in sort of 25 hours of your live work, and it's going to be on an app system, which is exciting, with a subscription-based $12.12. Can you just, for our viewers as well, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it sounds very exciting, brother. Welcome.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for having me. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And thank you for referencing Franco. That was actually yeah, there's a little story behind that. We were very close.
Yeah.
And we did 52 shows together. And we did the first Sology Fest. He came and he was the featured speaker for 3 days, amongst many other dignitaries, I would say, in the lightworker communities. But we both caught COVID on the same day. It was quite, significant. And mine lasted about 4.5 days. It was quite a energetic experience. And when I came out of it, he had gone into the hospital. He never got to make that move. But he came to me during that week, after I recovered. He was still in his body, but he was visiting me. And he has many times since then. So, and we actually established the SologyNetwork.com on March the 10th of this year, which was the 11-year anniversary of the day we started the first the Sology group on Facebook. And and so we've had an adjustment period of about 100 to 120 days. We've got a strong foundation that's subscribed, that's there for the content and what we're going to create from it. And we're just now starting to expand. And so the plan is that by the end of this month, we will have, I do 25 hours a week, and we have other hosts and hostesses that are stepping up to match that 25 hours a week. And that will give us 50 hours a week live. And then we have already on the new platform in our archives, probably somewhere around 150 hours of footage already. So we're developing excerpts to put out on all the different social media platforms, to include, the Facebook platforms, the reels, the stories, the pages, YouTube, same thing. We've got a Twitter account. We have a Instagram account. We have a Telegram and Rumble account. So we're developing kind of a conveyor belt to where we can distribute excerpts from the network out onto the mainstream social media. We house all the lives and all the replays at full length are located on the network, although we do give our guests a full length copy that they can share however they wish. This is really about a container that has been long in the making, and the guidance that was received in beginning March the 1st was to leave social media because it will at some point deconstruct, and also the energetics of it. It was just a calling, like so many of our callings, to get out and do things that don't make any sense. But so by the end of the month, we're looking at a couple of things, really. Going to be, I don't know that we'll have all the shows on board. We've already got about 4 or 5 of them, and I still have some meetings. The people are ready. I just have to go through each one of them and help them kind of get set up. And but I would say certainly by the end of next month, we'll be operating 50 hours a week live. And the other thing is we're developing some excerpts, and this will happen before the end of the month, where we're running a constant 24-hour reel, you might call it, of all of our excerpts. So we're going to make this available, and we will have the handheld app as well, so people will have an alternative to YouTube and Facebook if they want to watch some high frequency material. It's not just the talk show, and it's not just other people's talk shows. It will also, we do music. It's very important. The artistic part of our ascendance is very important to bring in, the different things such as light language and music, collaboration, spontaneous innovation, and improvisation. So what we're going to do is when we have the app and we get ready, and like I said, it'll be by the end of this month, come hell or high water, we're going to make the what you might call the public page. First of all, we're going to make the app available to everyone. You don't have to subscribe. You can get the app. What will that give you? That will give you access to our public page. And on that public page, it's a very simple page. It will just have the excerpts running 24 hours a day. So anybody can go and turn that on and just watch Judith Kuzel, this person, Franco, that person, and so on. And it will just run free. It will also give them access to the public page, which will tell them what we're doing and tell them how to sign up. And then it will also give them access. If you go to soulagionetwork.com now, you don't have to be a subscriber. You can actually see how everything is set up and see the content, although you can't watch it unless you subscribe. So this is very important because we've all stepped into 2023, and a big part of it is about value, self-value, self-love, self-respect, self-honor. And we worked by donation for 11 years. And it was a very rough road, and we're not, it's still rough now. I thought it would get a little easier, but it's still rough. We're in the early stages, but we're determined. So, the benefit of subscribing is not just the content, which is not just the content that we had on social media, but also expanded now, where people can come in and build their own show. And the idea is that channel reel that will be running is like channel 1. And then eventually we'll get enough material for channel 2. Franco's and Kimberly's work is a big part of this too. We have over 250 hours in its original state, on a hard drive, and we're creating that material to be made available for people that come to the site. It's his and hers creation called Advancing Consciousness, which you can find on YouTube and you can find in a couple other places, but we're going to put it all in one place, and we're also going to create excerpts from that and create a database. So there's really 4 components long-term of the soulagynetwork.com. One of them is the content, which isn't just my show and isn't just the music I'm involved with. It's going to be many, many people creating their own shows and eventually their own channels. And so that's the content. And then the second thing, probably the long-term, the most powerful part of it will be a social community, which we're working on behind the scenes, which is a combination of Facebook, YouTube, Etsy, LinkedIn, and like your own website, all in one place, where the algorithms are created and collaborated with to support us without any type of intention, but the most positive. And then the next thing that's a big part of it is the database. So we're accumulating a database. It's of all original material that we will release excerpts of out on social media, but this is a massive database that will quickly populate through the contributions of the people that come in. And then I think the fourth thing that's the strength of it, or the pillar of it, is the software itself, because it's being created and modified and adapted to our specific needs by our strong IT partners. So it's exciting. We're in the early stages, and we're looking at hopefully having by December to have the social community, or at least a part of it, to be released, so people can come in now and create their own universe within this universe, within this co-op. Soulage Network is not about me. It's about all of us. It's always been about everybody. We have 2 hashtags at Soulage. One's called I Am Soul, and the other one is the human is the hero. And so the idea is that you have, you know, the services, and you have the products, and you have there's unlimited live streaming. So anyone can go live anytime they want to. This is all going to be coming out towards the end of the year, and it's kind of coinciding with the Solargy Fest 2023, which will be our third Solargy Fest. It will be in Houston, Texas on December 8th, 9th, and 10th. And the theme of it is everybody is a star. So unlike other festivals and traditional events such as that, the people that come are the people that are the presenters and the performers, and we will be live streaming this, or making this available by live stream, as well as we have the last two. So I believe this Solargy Fest and the expansion of the network is kind of going to converge on an ascending line, and really, as I understand it, through, you know, my own interpretation and relationship with, I guess you would say, infinite intelligence or the universe, is that Solargy is doing its part, you know, in the new Trinity energy, or in the formulating Trinity energy, kind of like a liftoff into 2024, which I understand from my own intel is going to be an extremely powerful, fascinating, expansive year as things get disclosed, revealed throughout the rest of this year, and then we acknowledge and transform from there. So, yeah, that's kind of a nutshell of it. And you know, it's really just an extenuation of the work that began literally on March the 10th, 2012, when the name was given to me.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I was going to say, your technical support team, we can talk privately as well on that, because I was going to introduce my son, who's into the web design and programming, and
Sure.
and he's now, this year, he's graduated, and he's looking at the prospects of going to university. So, into the programming side of things, but he's quite a smart cookie, and
Yeah, I'd love to talk
I'm
to him.
just so, yeah, I mean, he's really good, and he's got a beautiful energy about him, and he's, you know, reference to when we talk about soul connection, he's omnipresent, and he's such a compassionate individual. So, you know, we also, yeah, well done. Yeah, it's just, I'm really excited, because we were on the verge of putting something together, reference. We've got a radio by Activator.net, so that's running, and that's 24/7, and
Oh, far
you know,
out.
yeah, my idea is just, you know, the thing that when I connected with the likes of Rick Jewers, I mean, for me, he was such a game changer as far as I'm concerned. The thing that really honed in with me is about the aspect of guardianship, because we're all equal on the planet, and, you know, on a 5-dimensional perspective, how do you bring that into that context? So the guardianship is just phenomenal, where, you know, people don't own anything in as far as, like, you're worried about copyrights, and it's just purely open source. So that's the nucleus of, you know, what we were and still are converging our energies on, and find you know, it would be like where people can come and work with the neutralizing and harmonizing, and it's so powerful, this neutralizing, because, and I genuinely, we're on the same page, because the temptation is always there, where, you know, you say white is better than black, or black is better than white, but you know, to understand the essence of, you have to go through the opposite polarity, and then you bring it all into some kind of alignment, and in so doing, you create a phenomenal currency, where you don't have to chase the money, because you will leave markers and signatures wherever you travel, So you will leave a very powerful impression where people feel uplifted in your presence, and in so doing, it's not, you don't have to say, well, whether you give a beautiful I am presence where they feel that whatever the emotions that they were carrying, it's kind of like neutralized and harmonized. So that's the kind of stuff we are, and if I may, I mean, where do you stand with the with Rick Dewar's ideas reference to the global people's monetary
Well,
system?
I'm sorry, there's a lag. I don't know. I mean, what I just heard from you is probably the most specific explanation I've heard.
Right.
I think there's a lot of initiatives that are around the world. I believe that what occurs in situations like this is people are trying to materialize what we're aligning with. I personally haven't followed many laws and many rules for quite some time. I believe that sometimes we get attached to certain things and they become exclusive, not by our intentions, but by the rigidity that we have in terms of what the qualifications are. So this is, not really so much a rebuttal or response in regard to your question. Rick Jewers is a very good friend of mine. We've probably done 25 shows together.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for him and Fimke. I don't believe in money. Money's just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
So anything, including crypto, I don't align with at all. I believe that you don't go halfway. The choice of fully stepping into our power as individuals and as co-creators, there is no stepping stones here. It's an all or nothing proposition. So if you are creating anything that has any dualistic components, any 3D components, it will not survive.
Yeah.
And many, many people that have come on the show, and I'll just, say that I can't say that I'm an expert or that I speak the gospel truth. I can only speak my own truth, but I can't speak on the experience of 4,300 publicized episodes of Soul Speaks 5D with some of the people that you mentioned, and many, many more, to include many people that are lesser known, which is really where I think the real coding is coming to the surface. And what I speak of is this: if you look at the communities since 2012, 80 in the beginning, 2012, 2013, 2014, 95% of the population of a group, including Sology, would be women. So, and many of them don't have a desire to be in front of a camera or to be seen, but they're always there supporting. The mother is the space in between. If you look at an atom, it's 99.7% or something like that, empty space. That is the mother. I believe that, as I understand it, the Sology, which is just another word for the energy that we all share, you could call it the Holy Spirit, is a platform for the voices of the Mother Goddess. And when you think about the energy and the essence of the Mother Goddess, and that was through the instruction of the third energy called Sology, directly, as spoken to my wife and I in 2018. But if you look at the energy of the Mother Goddess, if you look at the energy of the Mother, everybody gets fed. everybody gets loved and everybody's treated equally. And we all know that there has been an imbalance in this world. And I just feel that if you go to any other planet, for those of us who have had other planetary experiences, there is no money. You know, Earth, it's interesting because Earth has certain characteristics that that basically, you know, on a macro scale, can kind of, you could look at them in each one of us. And what I'm speaking of is certain identities that are exclusive to us that make us different, that are actually part of the illusion. And I think part of that is money. So I'm not opposed to anything or anyone. And to the specifics of my friend Rick, I'm not opposed to what he's doing. It doesn't resonate with me. And the reason it doesn't resonate with me is because I don't believe in money. I don't believe in taxes. I don't pay taxes. And I'm not afraid to say that. I don't believe in car insurance. I don't believe in life insurance. I don't believe in mortgages. I don't believe in debt. I don't believe in these lawless laws and these ruleless rules. I don't believe in borders. I don't believe in passports. And I'm not afraid to start pushing the envelope on this, because what are they going to do to me? I'm a soul. I cannot die. And I believe that we've reached a point now, and that the impetus of the real transformation in the physical experience, as some people might say, ascending in the body, is coming from the resurgence of the divine feminine within all of us, whether we're a male or a female, or we're androgynous, or whatever our sexual preferences, or whatever it is, whatever our makeup is by the world's societal norms in terms of labels and roles and brands. This force, and we can call it the Mother Goddess, we can call it the Divine Feminine, we can call it you could even call it the Divine Masculine. Because this divine masculine hasn't been seen in this world either, because it's been sheltered away. But this energy that's impacting the earth is coming through the individual's thoughts, words, and actions, coming in alignment. In alignment, you could say, our free will with the universal will. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be hurt. It cannot be slowed down. It is not of this earth, you could say. It is reemerging through us as we own, like you said, all points of dark and light. All are two sides of any polarity. So if you look at money, for instance, you know, if you look at money, it's a good example. Money's just energy. It's energy, but it's been created with ill intention. So to use it in any capacity means that you're still buying into the old illusion. So if you look at a situation like that and remove that term and say on one end of the spectrum is to be poor, and on the other end of the spectrum is to be rich. Until an individual brings both of those into their heart and sees them as one and the same, then we will still be affected by the conditioning that we've all been subjected to. So, you know, I would just conclude it like this. I admire anyone who has intention, has a pure intention, such as Rick and Femke, and those not just associated with the GPMS, but also with any other endeavor. I believe that every single day there's a higher truth, and and it behooves us to remain open to what we don't know, and to be open that things change, and to be open to the fact, because it is a fact, that each day that we wake up, there's a higher truth, and what may have been true yesterday isn't true today. Part of the challenge with constructing in this new environment, and I can speak to this and have spoken about this many times through the end of last year and all through this year, and many people that have come on the show have concurred that you cannot build things like we did before. The universal energy is not allowing us to do that. People have tried to do things. They try to structure things. They try to build things in the old architectural design that came from the old paradigm. And this free-flowing energy that is the new earth energy will not allow that. If you think about the old paradigm, very patriarchal, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that, which is very straight lines and square corners. Everything is, but the feminine energy flows, and the feminine energy is really the originator. It's creation. And what is love? Love is free. Love is not constricted. Love doesn't fit in a box, and it doesn't stay in a straight line. Love has to be allowed to flow. That is true love, and that's how we build. So it's a challenging proposition to do things like Sology, GPMS, and Bioactivator, and so on. I think people have to, always honor themselves and continue forward with it, and not measure themselves by how many people that they can bring into their community, or how many people they can get to do whatever it is that they're doing. It's important, again, in my mind, it's an all or nothing proposition, right? From the thoughts that we have, to the words that we speak, to the actions that we take, to be able to be pliable and open and receptive to those things that we don't know. Because regardless of who we are, and I don't care who it is, all right, I don't care who it is, and I have had the honor to sit down and have conscious conversations with a lot of people, some that you named and many that you didn't, obviously, because there's a lot of them. And what I've noticed is that as we got into the end of last year, I would say around September, October, the people that came on the show, regardless of the level of notoriety that they had, and regardless of the level of the frequency that was understood by the viewer or by whoever was watching them, that people were starting to show up as human beings. People were starting to show up and saying, this has been a hell of a ride. It's been rough. I've been humbled. People were starting to come off of their singularity. There's an old saying that sometimes the people and the things that got you to a certain place aren't necessarily going to be the ones that go with you from there. That doesn't mean that they go away. It just means that they expand. Everything gets remixed. That's what we're doing here on this earth. What we're doing here on this earth is taking all the experience that we came into these incarnations with, and then adding that to the experience of the incarnations that we've had. You could say the Akashic record plus the living library equals what we're producing now. So it really requires to examine and re-examine the things that we have. And I would say this. I would say that whatever we have and whatever it's been, it will only get better. But it won't get better if we don't change. And that change is all about ourselves. It's not about social change. It's not about political change or spiritual. It's about the change of the individual aligning with what's happening as this cycle of cycles, comes to a ending and beginning. And it's happening. It's bigger than all of us. And but creation is creation, and creation creates. And you can say that the feminine is creation and the masculine is the creator, but that's half of, each one of those is half of each one of us. And the golden child energy, I consider the golden child energy to be the alpha and the omega. You could call the golden child energy Sology, you could call it the Holy Spirit, you could call it a lot of things. But in order for creation to continue to expand, it continues to create. And that's what we're doing. We're here to create. We're here to gather information and create. So, I know that that was a lot of stuff I just said, but I want to be real clear about Rick Jewers and GPMS and any other initiative or endeavor out there. It's about many things, Sology included. It's not cut dry. It really does, it really does provide us an opportunity to be, you could say, the carrier of the womb in all of these creations, regardless of what your gender is, and to really develop a relationship with that third energy and allow that third energy to have a voice and speak to it as the real thing that it is. I speak to Sology every day. I do my best to engage with Sology in a 50-50 equal relationship. I listen to its voice. I heed its guidance. I question it just as I would with you, my brother, or anyone else, or anyone that I would collaborate with, in order for us to have the best version of a creation. It's just like a session. There's a lot of energy practitioners that come on a show. Magenta Pixie, you mentioned. There's just a lot of them. My wife is an energy practitioner. Many people that are probably listening, and an energy practitioner will tell you, when they go into a session, the first thing they do is they open themselves up 360 degrees without any impediments to the best of their ability. And then they ask the client to do the same thing. The more expansive, the more open, if you use a circle as a prop, like this circle right here, and that circle is fully open, that's 360 degrees. Well, what is a Vesica Pisces? A Vesica Pisces is two circles that come together. And that's where the real birth occurs, in that Vesica Pisces. So I believe that, this is the age of the Trinity. This is not something I thought of. This is something that we've all been writing about and talking about for many, many years. And there's three parts to it. There's me, there's you, and there's the third energy. So the third energy is an equal player here. And in order to kind of tap into the magic and what we might call, from the human perspective, the miraculous, we have to engage it and actualize it and treat it as us. If you look at the earth as another example, I don't think there's any of us that haven't neglected the earth in some form or fashion. Like, it's there for us, to get what we want, but what do we give back to it? Do we talk to it? Do we honor it? Do we walk in sanctity with it? Do we pray with it? So it's a different world, and there are a lot of creations that are occurring, and I'm just offering my own experience, but I would say that I believe there are a lot of people that are moving the direction that you're moving, that Rick and Femke are moving, and Sology's moving, and that is to step away in an accelerated pace from the old paradigm, because it's going to go away anyway. And I'll just end with this. I love this statement that Sandra Walter says, our sister. She says, you can walk, you got two choices. You can either walk towards the new earth, which says a lot, create the new earth, walk on the new earth, or you can turn around and watch the old one burn. And I believe if we take any components from the old world, then we're still watching it burn. It still has a hold on us. And I talk to people every day, and it amazes me how they can become politically charged, or how they can take on a belief system. And I'm not judging them. I'm just amazed, because I feel that the power of the Holy Spirit, the power of Sology, the power of universal energy, divine intelligence, whatever you want to call it, the power of love, is simply saying, do you believe in me or not? Do you think we need to have borders? Do you really think we need to have laws? Do you think we need to have governments? Do you think we need to have money? Do you think it has to be your way? Do you think it has to be only one way? Love is wide open, and we're doing some extraordinary work here on this earth, and it's my belief and my knowing, and I know others have reflected this as well. This has never been done before, and that alone is as a high achievement as I think any of these souls have ever had, just to even attempt it.
Thank you for that, bro. I mean, you said some amazing stuff there. I mean, if I can just pick on a few. You also mentioned a particular date. You kind of said 2024 as a particular event that will take place. My own feeling is that if you are attached to the illusions reference to what is real, what's not real, because my understanding is I've been practicing now the last 10 years. I moved out of the hamster wheel rat race mentality, because the saying goes, if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. So, it's powerful stuff. So the thing that sorry to come back to Rick Jewers again. I mean, he's put some phenomenal stuff on the table, and I need to bring those in, if I may. He simplifies things, so I do like, if things are difficult to understand, there's a tendency I just move away. It's got to be simple to understand, and within a few seconds, if it resonates, brilliant. The thing that he also brought to the table, he talked about natural law. That's powerful, because if you're against natural law, it's simple. If you're against something that's synthetically organized, mimicking presence of some description, it's going to prematurely age you. It's going to cast you away from the brute reality of one of many reasons why I activated the Buy Activator, is because you need to understand the essence of why you open your eyes. Most people, when they open their eyes, my day begins with thank you, gratitude. I genuinely believe that is the to put it into words, the foundation of everything that you build on. Once that's activated in yourself, you are then on a particular journey where you're activating others in the process. So why do we need money? We don't need money. If you activate people and you help them neutralize and harmonize, then they're anchored into that I am presence. And reference to the light codes which are coming in, there's a lot of interesting DNA activations. I mean, I personally feel January of this year, I've got this ability now where when we talk about this particular gland up here, when I got that activated, boy, it was like I couldn't believe the amount of people that were broken. I mean, it's like I'm hearing voices and feelings, and it's like, wow, I didn't realize it was that bad. And also the other things were like things like a lot of people are tempted to go onto that suicidal aspect of life as well, because they feel that they've hit a wall. They feel that, if they don't understand their own journey and so forth. Now, what Rick also said with me is also about we talked about the natural law, because the other thing that I'm also bringing in, and which really we're on the same page as Rick, you have you have an organic Wi-Fi, not the synthetic one. The organic one is cosmic energy, right? Now, the last 10 years, I've connected to Mother Earth. Like somebody asked me a question not that long ago, where do you live? So I said, do you want a high frequency or low frequency answer? I can give you a neutral answer as well. A high frequency answer would be, I live on Mother Earth. Thank you very much. A low frequency would be Bulgaria. Yeah. or wherever the label might be. Now, one has to be careful, because within the spiritual community, and again, I'm not going to be in the process, and this is going to be so powerful, brother, because I genuinely believe and know in my heart you're on the same level. We are here to neutralize, harmonize. Okay, the temptation's always there to say, yeah, they were the bad guys, and we'll energize that, and that again is a divide and rule. We'll put people into bigger boxes, if you like, you know. So it's important not to do that. One of the things that Rick and I we worked on is, so we talked about the natural order of things, which is very, very powerful, and how the truth will set you free. So it's about giving people independence, not having a nap. But I wouldn't want everyone to wake up every morning and say, I need that app. Otherwise, it's like everyone needs their coffee or their tea or if they say, I need my app, I need my app. No, it's about the app reminding you of who you are and what you are. That's a whole different meaning to it. But there's a question I'd like to present to you. If people are attached and they're struggling to detach from the illusions, things that are not real, then they're going to go through a bit of a nasty wake up, aren't they? Because the system, whether we call it the 3D, the capitalisms or isms, they will give way, and people will struggle to let go, I suppose. And that's why I want to bring this bioactivator, and I would like very much to work with you, brother, as well, with the zoology, what you're doing, because with this app you can give people divine leadership. I hate to use the word leadership, because in the beginning, for me, it's about a bridge. So that the dependency becomes independent, so that when you have your DNAs all activated, you'll understand how to navigate. And what is the navigation? Well, what intentions do you have when you go out in the wilderness? What are you saying to people? Are you giving unconditional love, or are you giving conditional love? Because if you're giving conditional love, then you need that money badly. But if you're giving it unconditionally, well, that hamster wheel is no longer turning. So that's, I'm not here to teach anybody. I'm here just to remind people of their, and once they become aligned to that, the system will upgrade. Because, another thing, what bioactivate, it doesn't want to destroy the old system. It's doing, like you said, it's destroying itself anyway. What we're helping people is this handover, this transition, so that it becomes more bearable and it becomes hopefully enjoyable. And I'll give the mic back to you. You see, my understanding is you can't raise your frequency if you're not excited and you're not happy. If you wake up every day and you're like, oh my God, another day, you're not raising the game. You're not raising the frequency. So for me also, about this, it's an energetic movement, because with the GPMS program, I don't want to use the word program. It's more of a monetary divine plan. It's how can I put it? It's a referendum at the moment. It is on a referendum, like they did with the Brexit in the UK and so forth. We give the people the opportunity to say, okay, energetically, how does this sound to you? And if it sounds great, energetically, you can. Collective consciousness is very, very powerful. They synchronize, they come together, and a movement will take place. And money will be replaced. And by the way, I don't worship money. I don't worship anything. I bow at people like yourself, but I don't worship you. I honor you and I respect you. And I do the same with money. That's why I've never been without money, because I respect the value of money. I respect it, but I don't worship it. There's a huge difference, you know. So so that's because it's the, like you said earlier, you were saying it's energy, isn't it? It's giving energy to something. So it doesn't matter what we call it at the end of the day. It's what you do with it. It's not where you live. It's how you live. These are profoundly very powerful statements that you're making to the community at large. So, but I'm excited about these activations, these DNA, how we're moving from 2-strand, 3-strand, 4-strand, and we're going to go to that level of being telepathic, interstellar. Who knows? You know, portals are, our biggest portal is us having the ability. You know, another thing that I'm doing, and I'd be happy to work with you, Robert, is, you know, how to this biological computer, how to connect to the natural Wi-Fi, which is how would you call it? Natural Wi-Fi is the cosmic energy. How do you connect to the cosmic so that you can become independent, not dependent? So I genuinely believe that we are on the same level, and it's about neutralize. You use that when Jesse was, you know, from Missing Link. You mentioned that word, neutralize. That is how you, when there's something acidic, you alkaline it, and you raise the pH in people. How? By giving them the tools. So is there any ideas that, you know, through your zoology, how you would, you know, bring more tools for the people to become more in contact with their soul journey? It's about connecting to your soul, right? This is what it's about. It's knowing for me, this projection, which we call the body, the physical body, the soul needs that in order to grow through the currency that we use, which is the most powerful, which is spiritual merit. What is merit? By being kind, by being loving, by being and feeling the pain of another sentient being, by being compassionate. Who needs money? Who needs money? By holding that energy where people feel confused, lost. And if you are activated and you understand and you expose yourself and you are real and you are the truth, that's called upliftment. So that ascension is definitely here, and it's definitely happening. And I'm excited about this apps, brother, because it will be a place where people will be reminded. It's a lot of affirmations, you know, to help bridge that crossover, to do it in the most harmonious way, you know, because it's gonna be, do you agree with me? It's gonna be a little bit difficult for some people to let go of the old. And I pray every day that, you know, and I'm not, because I'm listening to the news sometimes, CNN, this, that, and the other, just to understand that the pantomime out there. So the more and more people believe in these stories, the more chances that they will activate it. So if they stay neutral and kind and loving and saying it is a pantomime, and then I'm not going to energize it, we are so close right now. So I'm really honored, and I'm really excited about what you're doing. I've been following you for years, and I know who you are. I genuinely feel the core of who you are is of unconditional love. So that's why I honor you and I respect you. And I, like I said, Franco's spirit is definitely here. I feel it. You know, a part of me was disappointed because I felt so connected to this individual. But even the likes of Judith, and, you know, this, you know, with what Rick is doing, and there's another chap. I don't know whether you've had the privilege of talking to him. His name is Lee Mudway. Have you heard of this guy at all?
No.
He's he's definitely worth interviewing if you have the time. But no, I'm really excited, brother. But do you are you on the same, like when we talk about the natural law of things, opposed to the one that we've all been indoctrinated into a system where we've been taught this is your name, this is a birth certificate, da, 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 and the sheep mentality thing. We know this is all changing, but what we need to do is hold that space where people, you know, when things the stench is very deep. So when this thing comes out, this is where bioactivator, zoology, all these systems need to be there to support the people, because they may want to go out there and lash out on the powers that were. I choose my words very carefully. The powers that were, because it's the 1% was, you know, not working on natural law. That's for sure. You know.
Well, I mean, you say a lot there. Okay. I think first of all, you know, first of all, we're never going to know all the answers, because in our perfect state, which we contain within ourselves, it's exactly the reason that we come into these university and playgrounds that we call realms. And there are many, 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 many realms, many universes, many multiverses, infinite potentials. You know, I mean, nobody knows. We all have our own experiences. We all have our own knowing, but nobody knows. We can look at some things scientifically. We can talk about DNA, but DNA can be changed by the thoughts that we have. I'll say something else. Everything that we know of, whether it's a part of the simulation, whether it's a perceived illusion, it's all source. It's all God's substance. It's all goddess substance. It's all the creative particle, or whatever you want to call it. Everything that we're looking at is the 0 point field. Everything. There is no such thing as AI. AI is a term that's been created in this realm. It's been built into a narrative. Does it exist in the narratives of the realm? Yes. So do many, many things, but it doesn't mean that they are something that is lesser than us or greater than us. This is an experience. This is a soul expanding through incarnating and experiencing things it never has before, and therefore the universal itself, the mother, is doing it as well. You know, we can't, that's what I said, it's an all or nothing proposition. And we can wean ourselves off the universal tit of this matrix whenever we're ready to. And that's really what this is all about. The mother's kicking us out of the bird nest and telling us to go fly and be that which we are. There's narratives that talk about, you can talk about, you know, if you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, if you look at the text, you know, a quarter of that text is in regard to the archons and the archonic network. We can talk about, you know, apparently malevolent, you know, higher species that steal our energy. We can talk about all these things. One of the narratives, or, you know, a pretty well accepted narrative, is that, you know, we were unconscious, and we were at the whim of intelligences that were more knowing and more expanded than us and could see more than us. And you know, we are a unique species in the sense that we have a range of emotions. We have a heart-felt, a heart-generated power that's very unique. This energy had been siphoned from us. We know this. We know that through fear and through war and through the death program and through all the bullshit, you know, that one human being could run, the energy being siphoned from one human being could run an entire planet. So imagine what one conscious human hybrid soul, what it could run in alignment with its free will, with universal will, universes. So, you know, the ETs say that we are those that forgot we were gods. You know, there's a credible, there's a credible story from Bob Dean, where he was at a conference and he talked to two scientists who worked alongside the ETs in underground bases. And he asked them, what do you think of the humans? And they said, they're scary. They're scary because they're so immature. Essentially, that's what they said. And you know, countless examples too. And again, these are stories, and everybody has to discern for themselves. But another one would be they felt sorry for the humans because they don't understand how powerful they are. We are everything, every single thing. We're in a very dense environment. The stories are strong. The conditioning was strong. The programming is strong. There is no bad guys. There is in the narrative from the human only perspective, but you're either a human only or you're a multidimensional human. Or you could say you're either a lowly human that's at the mercy of fate, or you could say I am a soul and nothing can hurt me. Nothing. And so we either take that on or we don't. And so, you know, there's been a lot of changes. You mentioned January, and you mentioned what happened with your pineal. You know, many people that came on the show would agree with what you're saying. I look at it, and I'm not stuck on dates. I don't believe the stars are the end-all, cure-all. I believe they're part of this construct, just like numerology. That doesn't mean that they're not useful tools, but again, certain truths, all truths, achieve a higher truth each moment that passes. So these things were guideposts, and they still have some significance, and I'm not arguing that. But what I am saying is that from the solstice of 2022, which was 10 years from the date, December 21st, 2012, that people called the end of time, there's a strong theory to consider. And it's those things that we don't look at considering that show us how ignorant that we are, potentially, how blinded we can be, okay, in a very subtle sense. And these things are coming to the surface in 2023. But that theory or that narrative is that it wasn't a day, it was a 10-year period. So when we got into 2023, particularly March 1st of 2023, people are saying this is a whole different world now. There is telepathy now. Intuition is off the charts. Self-healing's off the charts. All kinds of stuff's off the charts. Personal expansion is off the charts, but so is the distortion. So again, immerse yourself in the new earth or watch the old one burn. I look at the subtleties. I don't look at the clickbait platforms anymore. I don't look at the fear mongering. I don't look at the Q propaganda. I don't look at the savior programming or the savior platforms, and I don't look at the fear platforms and the fear programming. One of the things that I try to keep myself in check on, and I think that's really the main thing for all of us. Now, it's just my opinion, my knowing for myself that I'm just sharing. But the more time we spend identifying people as unawakened or at a different level than we are, whether it's above us or below us, we're wasting our fucking time. Because we are it.
Yeah.
If you want to change this world, you change yourself. And if you want to go out and this is for me, I'm talking to myself. It doesn't mean that you stop doing soul G, you stop doing a bioactivator. You stop doing GPMS. It doesn't mean that. What it means is, have you taken a look at yourself lately? Have you asked yourself, how do you treat your son? How do you treat your partner? What can I do better? What have I missed? Why is it that I look at these people over there and I go, oh, they're just stupid and they're not awake? Well, you know what that's telling me? That there's something in me that's stupid and not awake. So if we really want to change this world, then we want to go deeper into ourselves. We want to tap in to our bodies, which is really speaking to us in 2023. We want to scan our bodies, scan our cells, scan our organs. Look at, you realize that all of the universal knowledge is stored within our body. We don't need to go out here and change the world, because we change ourselves and the world changes. The challenge is that we do go watch CNN for a little bit. I do this. I don't watch CNN, but I'll go on YouTube platforms and I will watch certain things. And I notice that I start to get a charge. Now you're going to tell me that you can't go on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and watch a police officer pull over somebody and break the law and do something that's against natural law, and it doesn't make you pissed off and mad? Well, you have just fed the monster. You have just perpetuated division and separation within yourself, and therefore you have extrapolated that out into the field. We are quantum thought creators. My judgment of you is just as powerful as my compassion, although the compassion would be more powerful, because true compassion means there is no judgment. I think in many people are challenged by these activations and downloads and channelings and such, because it is a challenge to the ego. Aren't we smart? Don't I know something? And it's so easy to go find people that will agree with you. I'll sum it up like this, because you said a lot. You said a lot, and I absolutely understand your pure intention, and I love you, brother. I mean, this is what it's all about. This is where the real codes come from, or from open conversations. But if you ask me, what is it? What would you do to provide the resources for people? I've always understood Soulji to be a small mirror of the universe, to do our best in a conscious human form to emulate the universe. So it's simply a place where everybody can come. In fact, everybody, and I said this from the very beginning because this is what I was told, I'm just a conduit. It's not Todd. I was told that everybody's in Soulji. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It's all inclusive. It's a small mirror of the universe. Now, I'm only using Soulji as an example because you asked me, what would you do? And it's simply to be the universe. And what is that? And what is natural law, to your question there? Well, there's only one law. Stay in your own lane. Don't impede on anybody. Not by thought, not by word, not by action. Okay? Just be you. So what more resources do we need? Now, granted, we're in a playground, and if you take Soulji as an example, then it would be this. Okay, based on everything that it is today, based on everything that's available today, we have a website, and you combined all the elements of the things that have brought us together, a Facebook, a YouTube, a LinkedIn, an Etsy, and your own website, and you put it all together. And you give everybody a camera and let them go live as much as they want to. And what is that? That's letting them be themselves in a place where they're supported and they're not judged and they don't have to be embarrassed and they can speak their truth. Whether they're teaching us how to cook Mexican chicken enchiladas or they're teaching us how to remote view. Just to be ourselves. Just to be ourselves and be holy and whole. That frequency, that combination of frequencies, that vibrational resonance takes care of everything. It takes care of everything. Can't be touched. Can't be touched. So, and I think the other thing, when we stay in our own lane, we respect the ideas of others. We respect everybody's reality. That's what I love about the platform I'm involved with, because we can talk to people. Even if I just take the last month, we had a lady come in from Scotland who brought the little people with her, who turned the camera off. And this is a lady who had studied in West Africa, who'd been studying for the last 20 years, who developed a relationship or a connection, or is one of the little people, and I forget how you say the name. And they spoke to us. We had another lady come in that had a life of severe drug addiction, who had prostituted herself to her ex's stepfather, and openly talked about these things, not trying to hide behind any intelligence that they wanted to project, or any past life or planetary connection. We're human beings, multi-dimensional human beings. We carry the entire universe within us. This body here, it's not just a meat suit. It's storing information, just like the mountains do, just like the land does, just like the water does. And I believe that one way or the other, whatever it takes, because the universal mind is our collective mind. We're the ones bringing these solar flares and solar storm activity down to the earth. We're the ones that are bringing on or offsetting natural disasters. And that doesn't mean there's not some fuckery out there and there's some stuff going on. But again, these are souls. These are, at minimum, holographic images that we've created to put in a antagonist or enemy scenario to provide a catalyst for us to find ourselves at a greater level. So one way or the other, we are going to be stripped of every single thing, every idea, every belief, every person, every ideal, everything, if that's what it takes to find ourselves and be okay with life and death, because they're all the same thing. So, you know, I have spent years focused on service, and I have had my own evolution, and I don't pretend to know everything at all. But I just know that in the given present moment, and the only thing we ever have is the eternal moment. There is no other time but the eternal moment. This is all we have right here, right now. And if we don't get it here, as Joseph Campbell said, we won't get it anywhere. So initiatives are great. Boycotts, protest, marching, petitions, all of these things are great. But what is the one thing that stops us more than anything in this journey of an expanded self-awareness, a greater sense of our God quality, our God attributes? It's ourselves. Sometimes we need to stop taking ourselves so seriously and get the fuck out of the way. Because if I can't see me in you and everybody else, then I've got work to do, and I've got no room spending an inordinate amount of time with these convictions that become attachments, that become appendages that hold us down. We are in a space where the spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and courageous infused into the eternal moment, especially where two or more gather, has more power than anything. And the other thing I would say is this: many of the things that we experience, I would say, in a way, outside of ourselves. Because I believe that the things like you're talking about with the pineal gland from January that you were talking about, the things that are happening in our body are the most important things. The things that are happening in our body are the most important things. And right now, because the things that we see out here in dimension and you know, we've all, many of us have been there. You know, we get taken to the pyramids and something happens and we didn't do it. We're just witnessing it. Okay. We're witnessing it. That's it. Okay. I've had many experiences, including beings coming into my bedroom. Right. But these are things being presented, showing a person or persons that there's a higher and higher level of alignment occurring, and it has something to do with the person, okay, or the people that are there. But the body itself is where the gold is now. This is where we're at. This is where we're going to be held accountable, and I don't care who it is, including me, okay? I've had a long history, even through all my work, okay? A bit of a wild ass, you know, drank a lot, smoked a lot of weed, smoked a lot of cigarettes, drank a lot of coffee, you know, didn't always eat well. But over the last 2 or 3 years, all of this is going away. And there is an all or nothing proposition on the table. We can no longer ignore our personal addictions. And there are many types of addictions. It's not just cigarettes. It's not just alcohol. It's not just sex or food. It's thoughts. It's beliefs. Because what they do is they distract us from what's trying to come out to be seen within us. And most of this stuff we would consider dark. We look at this and we look at that and say, oh my God, I'm not like that. Well, you're a part of this. I'm a part of this. We may not go out and do this. We may not go out and murder somebody. Okay. Or we may not go out and rape somebody. But we have to acknowledge that we chose to come into a playground, into a university. We can't absolve ourselves. We can't just blame it on other people. People talk about 5D, there is no forgiveness. Okay? I believe that. I believe forgiveness is a 3D invention. And that at a certain point, when we realize that we've all been subjected to the same thing, there is no such thing as forgiveness because there's nothing to forgive. But now let's flip that around. If that's the case, and we all want to get to 5D, unless you want to stay here, and I don't know anyone that does, then if there's no forgiveness, and we know that's where we're headed, and it is a tool for us here, and most important, forgiveness of ourselves for being judgmental, for being unconscious, or whatever the case is. But if there's no forgiveness, then there's no blame. So how can we function? How can we build anything when we're considering that there's another side over there that caused all this and it's just a big blame game? This is our identity trying to hold on to a self-righteousness that doesn't exist. So, you know, just to kind of summarize all this, and I love having these conversations, especially when I'm not the one sitting in your chair. And that is, this is about me. And this is about you from your perspective. You are the universe. I am the universe. Universe. Okay. And this is where we can make a difference. And sometimes we have to make tough choices, but you come together with an energy once, you come together forever. We're all the same. And as long as we can look at another person, another country, another belief system, another opinion as separate from ourselves, then that neutralization that you're talking about, that integration of polarities, that is the magic. Why do you think a Vesica Pisces does that? These are two, look at a toroidal field. You have a toroidal field and everything is coming like this and then it goes like that. See, everything separates, but does that mean it's separated? No, it's still part of the toroidal field. This is what happens. So if we're emulating the universe and we want to tap into our alchemy and our magic and our miraculous, then it's obvious to me that we open our heart to any and all things. You know, I spent a lot of time, including the week that I caught COVID, as I referred to earlier. 4.5 days, I went through a succession of demons. And I've had many experiences with dark entities and energy, but these are one way or the other aspects of myself. And the bottom line is, I open my heart to each one of them. Is it easy? Is it natural? Does it always feel good? When they step into my heart, it does. And I know no other way. I know no other way. And I think the other thing too is that we have everything that we have been presented with, I believe we know now, is the opposite. Such as, not that there's not a masculine aspect to source, but God the Father. Where has the goddess been? Where has Mother Universe been in our teachings, in our educational system, and religious structure, and even state and government structures? Where has it been? What happened to it? We have tainted, we have maimed, we have raped, we have disassembled, we have corrupted. Every one of us. Was it conscious? Was it unconscious? It doesn't matter, because it's conscious now. How do we rectify? How do we resurrect? It's how we treat each other. It's how we look at each woman who is the mother. Okay? The father, the masculine, creates. That's the part of us that creates and builds. Okay? But it's not the one that we had before. It's not the one, I'm the one that knows how to do this. I'm going to go do this. I'm the man. It's not that. It's an equal balance. It's not straight lines. It's a flow. She dreams, creation dreams, right? And he builds. But this is one and the same person with that third energy. It's the Holy Triad. So I think as the year has gone on, we talked about January being a totally different environment. If you take the first 6 months of the years, particularly March, April, May, and June, we had massive activations, a very cyclical nature. At the beginning of every month, things went with a boom, and then there was about a 10-day period from the 11th to the 22nd, give or take, that seemed to be a major corridor, and then we get popped out and everything settles in at the end of the month, and we got 2-3 days to breathe, and it happens again. We get shot out of a cannon again. July's been totally different. July has been massive. Some people will say that the 777, July the 7th, 7th month in a 7-year, was the biggest day of the year. Now there's another one occurred on the 16th, and another one will occur on the 25th. And that's also the Mayan day out of time. Now, I don't live and die by all these numbers and celestial formations and movement, but there is a physical synchronicity that's occurring, and we can, like reading a book, we can get the message in the code. And a lot of it's happening on a local basis as we go throughout our day. So in essence, the universal energy is forcing us to be present within ourselves in the eternal moment, which is all we have. All we have is the eternal moment. All we have is this moment right now. This is why, on a personal basis, it frustrates me when there's any dissension, any conflict, any drama, because it's just become obvious that it's unnecessary. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to save the world, okay? Because the world is not what we think, and it's upside down. So if we were the smallest participant, or we are at the mercy of everything external of us, guess what? It's the opposite. It's all on us. And what would we do? What would you do? And what that is what we will get. And the only question in this grand experiment and experience is how are we going to do? Because there is no point where we go, oh, we won. It goes on forever. It goes on forever. What we have been given is accessibility to a potential that's never been seen before. And it's my belief, my strong belief, my knowing that it's on an individual basis. This is why, there's certain ways that we can check ourselves, our humility, our integrity. What do we do when no one's looking? Examining our intentions, our openness, you know, our acceptance, you know, of other people. You know, I spent 2 years being homeless, and I'm in the neighborhood for the last 6 months that much of that time I was homeless. And it's an urban area, and I like to walk the streets sometimes. Once every 10 days or so, I'll go out and, you know, midnight or 1 o'clock and walk the streets amongst the homeless people. There's a reason I do that. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to experience in the broadest way that we can if we're comfortable with it. Don't do anything you don't want to do. You know, Dolores Cannon says some people take a life off. Some people rest, so they don't want to be awakened. They just want to be dumbed down and live a life where they can just kind of do nothing, right? Who are we to know? Who are we to judge? But going back to the natural law thing, what is the natural law? What is that? We could cite the law of one. We could cite the Hermetic principles. We could cite a lot of different things, right? But what is it really? It's love, right? I mean, it's divine love. And what is that? Love is free. I always look at it this way. Before they had a Vesica Pisces, like this circle here, it was just one circle. That's it. I call it the mother. And what did the mother do? The mother is what? Creation. What does creation do? Dreams. I want to have an equal partner. Boom. Now there's two. And then the dance starts. Because guess what? You know the old saying, be careful what you ask for. This is how faith has grown. This is how love has grown. Because this creation had to allow that natural law, that universal law, that universal love to be free. And so what happens? This circle over here, call it the masculine, starts to find out about itself and try different things, and it creates stress on this one, and this is how it grows. But we're in a time that I feel there are many text and oral traditions and just prophecies and whatever. And even then you've got to question them. Is it all just a big propaganda? Are we just all lab mice? Well, I don't know. But you know what could make the very difference of what we are is right here. What do I believe? Where are my thoughts? Where are my words? Or where are my actions? I will say this just to kind of conclude the whole thing, because I know I went off on a few things, but there's no question in my mind that where I leave this incarnation, I'll pick right back up somewhere else. So whatever's unresolved here will be still unresolved when I get to the next step. Many of us have worked with disincarnated souls, souls that were stuck to the earth plane or stuck in the astrals in between because of the programming, because of the conditions, because of the guilt and the shame and all this stuff that's not even real. I mean, we don't even know the extent of our potential at this time. And we'll never know it if we're going to be stuck on the system, on is there a secret space program? Is the earth flat? All that stuff, all of it. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be something in your own family. It could be whatever it is. I call it being stuck on the grid. We are from beyond the stars. We're not just stars. We're from beyond the stars. We designed this place. And it looks like we're coming to the end of a cycle of cycles. If you look at the 26,000 year thing or the 2,500, whatever they are. But, and then again, how do you know? How do you really know? I just try to go to bed I wake up every morning like you, and I say my graces, and I pray like a child, and I do the same thing at night. And I always remind myself that my very thoughts I'm going to carry forward make the difference. If I'm going to get my neck chopped off, it's going to be by my choice. but it's going to be by my faith in myself. It's going to be because I listen to myself and not something outside of me. And believe me, too much light and too much dark are the same damn thing. If you're on one end of the polarity or the other, you're still equal distance from the 0 point field, or the perceived 0 point field, because the 0 point field is actually the whole thing. We're already holy and whole. We're already perfect. But we go into these playgrounds and universities to experience a perfect imperfection. And this one, by everyone I've ever talked to, is the most. Dolores Cannon says the toughest of the tough, right? Franco De Nicola said it's the hardest one ever. You know, so anyone I look at, I always I tried my best to remind myself they showed up. Whoever it is. The last thing I'll tell you. Okay, I saw this video, and it was a judge. And she was about to sentence a murderer, a young man, probably 21 years old. And the family of the victim was in the courtroom. And the murderer didn't have any remorse at all. He just didn't give a shit, you know. And it really appalled the judge. And the judge said, you know, I don't know where I heard this, but I heard that every soul chooses the template of their life, chooses what they're going to experience from a perspective of the soul. Okay. And she said, that victim that you tortured and killed had to be a very powerful soul. Has to be, to pick a life like that. And a light bulb went off in my head. And I realized that young man was a powerful soul too, because he had chosen to take on this role. And I'm sure at some point he's going to have a great epiphany or revelation, or maybe he'll be tortured, or whatever the case is. But every one of us that showed up, every one of us showed up. Every single one of us. We are the darlings of the universe, and the universe is sitting on the edge of its seat trying to figure out, oh my God, how much further are they going to go? Because they didn't think we were going to make it this far. Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of my take on things.
That's really good, bro. That's really good. I just took some notes when you were talking out. That was awesome, brother. I put things like biofeedback, and no two souls are the same in terms of frequency, because they're, you know, one soul is siphoning the information based on its ability to understand the essence of what's happening. And I was going to ask you, you know, there is a thing called moral compass as well. So people are in line with trying to make the right decisions and understanding what is real, what's not real. But reference to mind control systems, because that's been a bit of a puzzle for me for a while, because the temptation's always there to energize it or not, you know, like reference to the chemtrails. I mean, how real was that for you in terms of like, because, you know, Mother Earth is changing, you know, but the temptations always say, well, yeah, we were being, but they can annihilate us so easily. They're not after our money, you know, they're after something more. So my question is, with reference to mind control systems, I don't just mean the schooling systems and things, but I'm talking about, let's just look at the sky for what it is. There's been such alterations. I mean, where do you stand with this mind control systems? Because, you know, they've got supposedly these technologies that they can send a particular frequency and they can get you to do things. And in fairness, I mean, we had a soul agreement. We knew how tough this was going to be, and now we're bringing it into some kind of order. We're saying, yeah, it could have been, and we're still here. Are we being affected?
Well, okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, that's a narrative. That's a story.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's a story. Now, is it still going on? Yes, it's a story. Let's take just a person. Let's say a person, like a lot of people that come on the show, has had severe trauma. Say they were raped as a child and they were molested and they were beat up by their first husband and all this stuff. As gruesome and as realistic that seems to be, it's a story. And until that person lets go of that story and takes their power back, then they're still stuck on the grid. Now, I know that sounds harsh and that sounds pretty cut and dry, but it is. So the same goes for the human, the collective human being. You know, my personal theory is, and I'm not attached to it, is that we've had many mind swipes. There's a lot of evidence out there. We already know about the giants. We know about the Nephilim. We know about all the hybrids. Okay, we know about the star families. We know about the relationships with the Dogon tribe and the Hopi Indians and the Aborigines. We know about this, but these are still parts of the story. When the Nephilim came in, or when the Anunnaki came in and killed the men and raped the women and created the Nephilim, that's still a story. And now, is there a scientific relation? Did it involve our DNA? Yeah, but that's still part of this experience, this hologram. If I had to say it from a I am soul standpoint, it would be, hey, they tried fluoride, they tried chemtrails, they tried GMOs, they tried synthetics, synthetic soles on the feet to keep us from feeling mother. They tried all this stuff, and guess what? They can't stop us. Didn't work. Okay. That old saying, they forgot we were seeds, right? So, my personal theory or my personal belief is that our memories have been swiped many, many times. Probably, certainly, I could make a pretty good argument that it happened. The last time it happened was probably about 150 years ago. If you look at the world fairs that occurred in the late 1800s, if you look at Tartaria, there's a lot of things you can look at. If you look at the fact that the Moors, if you look at the fact that Columbus didn't discover anything, and that there were millions and millions of richly melanine, curly hair human beings walking North America, we don't know shit, but we don't have to. Okay, we're all of this is contained within us. So I don't fear any of it. I'll go back to, you mentioned David Icke. And when David Icke came on the first time, I asked him a question. I told him who the community was comprised of. I told him that many of the people in the community had the same life template he did. Just like he did when he went to Machu Picchu and he heard a voice and he was told he was the son of God. And he was driven by this internal voice, this heart generated voice, this resonance. Okay. He was estranged from his family. He made crazy choices based on this guidance. He was ridiculed, isolated. There are many of the people here. And then I said to him, so we follow your work. We were familiar with it. We understand about reptilians. We understand about the fuckery and the CIA, all right, and this and that. What can we do? And he said to me, you know what? I didn't know we were going to talk about this. This is my favorite subject. And then I asked him, how do you contend with these negative, antagonistic energies working against you? Do you fear them? Because I knew he didn't. And he said, I don't look at it that way. It's, I am all that was, all that is, and all that will be. I'm having an experience. and I'm presented with information. Some of it's good information, some of it's bad information. That doesn't mean some of it's good and some of it's evil. It just means some is good and some is bad. And then you take it into yourself, and you hopefully align your thought, words, and action, and you create. So, I think most of what's going to be disclosed over the next few months, it's already happening now. They're already having the whistleblowers coming out now on some of the more mainstream podcasts. If you look at Sean Ryan's podcast, they've got 3 ex-militaries that are supposedly protected by the government with the new legislation of protecting whistleblowers, which is questionable. Okay, to me, you got to question everything. But they're talking about, basically that all of the dark stories and narratives about ETs and what UFOs we're seeing is all a bunch of bullshit. This is all man-made. This is us. This is us doing this. And if anyone on this earth is doing it, we're all a part of it. We've all agreed to be here. Let's look at Franco's work. Franco was one of 4 people like him on this earth. There were 4 quadrants to this earth, and he was one of 4 people. Now, this is a man who at 16, 17 years old in high school in Canada invented hydrogen engines and high-level technology like a Tesla. This is a man who at 18 years old had a contract with the Department of Defense in the United States to build helicopters with these hybrid hydrogen engines. This is a man who was visited by the Men in Black for many years until he told him to fuck off. This is a man who had full recollection from the womb and many planetary incarnations. This is a man who had full recollection of how this quadrant of the universe was built, from the architects that were the serpents right down to today. So, and this is a man who dropped into bodies many, many times, but only chose to live a full human life in this incarnation. Okay. 15,000 years ago. This was an organic realm of polarity. You could say an organic 3D, right? And that's how it had gone. Now we're heading into the home stretch. We're heading into the last 15,000 years. It's the end of the cycle of cycles. It's like a clock, and every second there's a cycle. And yet it's one big cycle, and this is where we're at. 15,000 years ago, a group, and there are home frequencies. Okay, you might call it home planets, but it's really like a home frequency. All right. There was a group from a certain home frequency that approached all of us and said, we have an idea. And that idea is, why don't we distort this polarity and create an inverted matrix and really make things weird and really make things difficult and get the biggest bang for a buck. And it was agreed upon. So what happens in the narrative? You end up having a major flood. Atlantis gets wiped out. Of course, you had the Anunnaki part, mating with the women, creating all this, and right up to this day. In 2019, one of the things that occurred was the moon was brought over here to serve as a projector onto the earth to project a distortion. In 2019, that was ceased and reversed. In 2019, and as we got into COVID, into the early 2020, no longer was the moon projecting bullshit. It was starting to project what we project. It's like what we're projecting to the sun. Okay. And the inverted matrix, the inverted 3D, was only being generated by the ego, which was the implant that interacted with it. So we're slowly getting this all transformed. And COVID was a huge gift to this world because it created an atmosphere of deeper self-introspection. It took the manufactured rhythm out of play. Going to work from 9 to 5, kids go to school every day. All of that got thrown away. And it also allowed for people to start to come together. Okay. The next step, 10 days before the United States president election, right? Which would have been 2020, 10 days before, I had him on the show. And I said, have we decided, because there's nothing that goes on this earth that we don't all agree to from a soul perspective. Nothing. I said, do we know who's going to win? You know, I was kind of joking. And he said, well, no, we haven't decided yet. So if we could either take the red path, which we know was Trump, or we could take the blue path. If we take the blue path, it's going to be a lot more bumpy, but it's going to come out quicker. And then 2 years, 8 months, 3 years down the road, and he was always the first to tell you that what he could pull in on a given day is subject to change because things change. Just like getting your fortune told. You get your fortune told, it may be 100% accurate, but the minute you walk out of the session, things can change, you know, or be slightly altered. But that after 3 years, 3.5, something like that, that they would end up in the same place. And we're starting to see that happen. Look at this distortion. Now, are we really going to take it serious? We have a president who fell asleep in front of the cameras yesterday with a dignitary from another country. He can't even talk. He can't even walk. It's questionable if he's even the same person. We have a government sticking it in our face where the FBI director is lying to us as the DOJ is. Now, you could go all around the world and you could find this corruption everywhere. Everywhere. And I asked Franco, I said, do those people know what they're doing? He said, some do. Some are just as lit as Rick Jewers, just as lit as you know, okay? And they understand that they are the antagonists, that they are the catalyst for their brothers and sisters. Now, and let me tell you something about the 1%. They believe what they're doing is absolutely 100% the best thing for the world. So let's get some perspective. Anyone that's walking the face of the earth is subject to the human condition. Thank you, my friend Earl, who said that. And it's a fact. Rick, Todd, you, Magenta, everybody is subject to the human condition. If you want humility, chew on that for a little bit. Now, we don't have to damn ourselves and judge ourselves, but a little piece of humble pie is worth something. So before you can see, it used to work okay. But one thing that changed after that solstice in 2022, after that 10-year period, you know, my friend who's a very high frequency and one of those people that's been in the background, like so many of these women, my friend Ty Hudnall, who I make music with on Mondays, who's in Sedona. He's a esoteric astrologer, among many other things, studying the African tradition, studying the Toltec tradition since he was a teenager, and incorporating music with it all. I asked him before I left Sedona in December, I said, what's 2024 going to be like? He's 2023. And he said, it's the year that the yogi and the guru fall. Now, he didn't mean that to take a swipe at anybody. What he meant was that people were going to move away from being told what to do. Because what is the difference? What is the difference if somebody decides that they're no longer going to be in allegiance with their nation and they're no longer going to follow the rules of the authorities that they no longer trust? What's the difference if they go and hang out with a group of 100 people? They're all listening to one person telling them what to do and how to tie their shoes and what to eat. There is no difference. There's no difference. And the same could even go with your partner or another person in your life. This is about self-empowerment. This is about walking the talk. And we all want to change the world, and we all want to bring it to a better place. And the way to do that is the same for everybody. Clean up your own house. Look under your own hood and do it often. And when you catch yourself, and I'm speaking to myself, judging somebody, whether you're putting them on a pedestal or looking at them like they're a piece of crap, you got work to do. Now, what would you rather do? Would you rather go out there and try to heal people to distract yourself from working on your own stuff? Would you rather go out there and protest and march and boycott, okay, and bring attention to the big ugly monster that is only living because we perpetuate it, to your point earlier, okay? Or could I service better in the Trinity energy by looking at myself and taking these things into myself? Because at that point, I am now serving you and myself and the collective equally. That's the Trinity energy. So, sometimes we need to get off our high horse, and I'm just as guilty as everybody. Sometimes we need to get out of our way, and I'm just as guilty as anybody. But one thing that I'm seeing hard evidence of this year in my own life and in the lives of others that I collaborate with and observe is that the universal energy is reciprocating. That's the real instant manifestation. That's the real instant manifestation. This universe is, we used to live in this world where it was an inverted matrix and things weren't fair. But now they're becoming fair by our own thoughts, words, and actions. So it's not the macro that controls the micro, it's the micro that creates the macro. And it's all about this self-accountability, self-responsibility. Do you think that the universe is going to give any of us our universal power to its fullest extent if we're not mature and responsible? And who is in charge of that? We are our own keeper, right? So nobody's going to check on us. The best conversations we can have are between ourselves and the universe. I call it the brutal honesty of the soul. That's why so many people are being alone right now. That's why so many people are having to be in solitude. It's not because they don't love the people that they hang out with, or they want to be don't want to be doing something else, because it's absolutely the responsible thing to do. If we had, we distract ourselves. This will also be you could say the year that the wounded healer dies. What is a wounded healer? A wounded healer is someone who is falsely validating their existence by assisting other people at the expense of neglecting themselves. So this is where the universe has taken us. So if we're spending our time projecting on other people and saying, oh, well, you're this and you're that, well, maybe you need to go be by yourself and think about it, because none of this is going to change out here until you do. And I'm speaking to myself. I sit here today after, what is this? 11 years, a part of Soulgy, which isn't me. Soulgy is not me. It's not me and my wife. It's not me and my wife and 5 other people. It's everyone. And I'm telling you this for the right reasons. I have no fear. I've got no worry about it at all. But my car's broke down again. It hasn't run in 2 weeks. I went to the grocery store today. I used what I had left on my card to get an Uber back because I couldn't carry the groceries. So I sit here with $2 or $3, but I have my soul. I have my truth. I have my dreams. I have my relationship with the universal. I am not going to stress and worry because this world has laid a bunch of principles and bullshit on me. I am going to be calm, cool, and collected and relaxed. And I'm going to listen to myself and keep my own counsel with the universal, the mother goddess. And I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to worry about money. I'm not going to worry about, I'm just focused on this, like you said earlier, the simplistic. I've got my part to do in Soulology. I have my part to do with the Soulology Fest in December. And I have, other things. I have a wonderful, powerful, journey that I've been involved with another soul for literally tens of thousands of incarnations. And anyone, by the way, that thinks that these relationships that people talk about, whether you want to call them twin flames or whatever you want to call them, if they all think that it's just, bells and whistles and peaches and cream and fluffy love and light, they're full of shit. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And I'm proud to be involved in all of these things in my life. I've recently reconnected with my mother after 6 years. What does Ram Dass say? You think you're enlightened? Go spend some time with your family. My mother and I didn't speak for 6 years. We now become very close friends again. I'm going to be in 2 weeks. I'm going to be going to my hometown to a funeral. And I'll be around many, many family members that I've been estranged from for years. They think I'm a derelict. They think I'm a criminal. And I guess by the societal standards, I've technically been a criminal and a felon. Okay? But that's not who I am. Am I going to run from this? My soul is telling me you need to go. Do you think my human is happy with that? They'd rather not do it. But I've learned one thing. The more that we face and walk through, we have learned after all this time that when we get to the other side, it's well worth it. These little things are what make this world go round. And it's facing these things in our lives on an individual basis that expand this world. It's not going out and overthrowing a dictator or getting somebody or stealing an election, because we all know that was stolen, and I don't have any political affiliation. It's become so ridiculous. Everything has become so ridiculous for a divine purpose, and that is to say, you know what? The only thing I can count on is me. And from there, I can learn to also count on you. Because when I trust myself, I trust you. When I love myself, I love you. It's impossible. It's impossible to love the universe more than you love yourself, because it's one and the same thing. So that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it.
Powerful. Thank you so much for that. It's I was going to ask, how are we doing for time? Because we're just coming up to the 2
I don't have
hour
anything.
mark.
I don't have anything planned today. Yeah.
I was going to say, my version of the word enlightenment. I create a little story to that, and this is how it goes: that you go to a place that you've never been before, so you're on an uncharted territory, a little bit alien to your senses. You feel a little bit on edge, because it's a place where your mind is saying, oh wow, you might not speak the same language, and it just appears a little bit strange. But then you meet a stranger, and you both lock eyes. What do you see? I see myself. And this for me is a powerful story, because how I treat everybody is exactly what's going on. It's a reflection of what's happening within my vessel, how my cells are interacting, and how because it's a measure of who you are, what you are, and how evasive you are on the outside is exactly what's going on within yourself. In an ideal world, we should just see God and goddesses everywhere. The fact that some of us see shit, pardon the expression, in people, that shit is not in them, that shit is in you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a mirror effect, because when you are walking your path and not wearing a mask, what you put instead of a mask is a mirror. And what people see is certain demons that are ready to come to the surface. And, you know, for me, the word spirituality is not a glamorous situation. For me, it's like being places where you bring the darkness into balance, into order, because to understand the essence of something, you have to experience the opposite. In order to know sweet, you experience sour. And the art is to bring it into order and then walk your path. And yeah, you're bound to trigger if you. I mean, I've triggered. I'm always triggering people, where people say, "Oh, who do you think you are? You're great. You're this." And I'm not trying to be. I'm not. I'm just trying to be me. And some people misinterpret. Not every, because there's a saying, every action needs a reaction. No, not necessarily. You can sit in that stillness and take the storm, because don't take it personally. The way I observe certain things around me is, you know, it's a good life skill to, you know, have this ability, because the temptation is always there to be drawn into the drama. You know, it's not necessarily of your making, but it's still drama. And how you neutralize and harmonize. I don't advocate to heal anybody. Some people say, "Oh, you know, I find your presence quite healing." I'm not healing. You're healing yourself. All I'm doing is creating a beautiful atmosphere of what's going on within myself. So between a scale between 1 and 10, if I love myself only an 8, then I'm 20% still need to work on that, because that's what I'm sending out there. And I'm seeing that 20% in a lot of people, you know? So, but when you get to that level of self-realization, God realization, and you bring your masculine and your feminine into balance, this is important, because the real you is not, my understanding is, you're not a man, you're not a woman, but you're playing that masculine feminine power. And you're absolutely right. The goddess power is now where it needs to be. And we are creating. And I was going to ask you this vital question, if I may. How important is visualization? How important is it to create that image of my 5D world is a place where, you know, I don't see hospitals, I don't see cemeteries, I don't see schools, I don't see armies, I don't see the military. I mean, how important is it as a unified field of beings of light to come forward? Because we are becoming less dense in our bodies. We are becoming more, I mean, we've heard this time and time again, where our carbon-based bodies are becoming more crystalline, because we can hold that light energy a lot better. So is it important? I mean, these practices, these conversations, like you said, are so profoundly important, because, and what you're saying, putting these apps together, it's important to bring people into alignment where we converge, we talk. But do we need another interim government at this point? That's a question. So,
Well, that's like 3 questions. But no, I think the visualization thing is paramount, because just like we were unconscious of our emotions and unconscious of our programming, we were unconscious that we are quantum thought creators. So we're always visualizing. Every time I pass judgment, I'm visualizing. If I look at you and say, well, he's this or he's that, I'm visualizing. And the imagination is the originator of our reality. So whether it's a structured visualization session, which can be very powerful, or it's being conscious of the thoughts that we have. And it's not so much the thought that comes in, it's what you do with it. Because we can alt, control, delete. We can, if we take it into words, we can apologize. If we take it into action, we can try to bring some other form of rectification and apologize, or whatever the case is. We have the ability to do that. We are transformers. We can take something that we can take a bad egg that we laid, and we can pick it back up and we can turn it into a golden egg. So I think that's extremely important. That's probably, I haven't heard anybody actually use or bring that up specific to that the way that you did. And I would just say that again, I love the infinite, profound simplicity of what we are, because we have been conditioned by virtue of our complicating our finite mind. So visualization, yeah, I think part of the whole conscious living is to be aware that we're always visualizing, always. When our imagination starts to run wild, and oh, they're doing this to me, and they're probably doing that, and they meant this, and you, that's visualization. That's creating the drama. And then we go about our business, and we go walking down the road, and it may not be that person, but guess what? We're going to get the drama. And then we're going to say, why are people being, dramatic with me? Well, it's because we've got that imaginary loop running about something or someone, right? And we're condemning and judging superiority, or maybe we're on the other end of it and we're inferior, and we're in, like so many of us have learned, the power that the apparatuses of the matrix had over us. Well, I can't do that. It's against the law. Fuck that shit. It's a lawless law. We're talking. Well, how much more evidence do we need? I mean, look at marijuana. Cannabis. Go back into the 1920s, 1930s. It was an incredible product for so many different reasons, and yet it was stifled and put down and demonized and criminalized. And people have. I knew a man at 18 years old that got busted with one joint in 1979 and was put in prison for a year in East Texas. And the first night was raped by 37 men. So how much more evidence do we need? You know what I mean? I mean, I can become charged when I look at the evidence that we have out there, that we've been lied to and all this stuff, right? We don't need to talk about that anymore. We know it's there. But if you're going to continue to conform and you're going to continue to participate, then shut the fuck up. There's nothing else that needs to be said, because you are your own creator. Or we've got enough evidence. What's the alternative? What's the one thing? What's the one place that we haven't looked? What's the one place that we haven't had faith in, that we haven't pledged our allegiance to? It's ourselves. And when we do that, we do it with our brothers and sisters. See, I get charged with this. I got to go back to the 0 point, but I'm telling you, I'm done playing the game personally. And I don't see it being a rebellious, kind of thing. It is a revolutionary thing. Okay, because the human species is all about revolution, revolution. But it goes back to the question that you said earlier. What would you do? What resources would you provide? Let's emulate the universe. Let's create a space where there is no judgment. There's full support of the natural law that y'all were talking about, right? We're at the human level, coming out of this old paradigm where we still have the dregs are still falling off of us. The threads are still falling off us. The programs are falling off us. Let's create a place where everybody's supported. Nobody needs to be embarrassed. Tell us your truth. Share with us your traumas. Share with us your fears. Share with us your gifts. Everybody wants to talk about all the bells and whistles. It used to frustrate me. People would come on the show back in the early days, and all they want to do is market. And yeah, this is part of the evolution process. But where's the real Where's the real thing? When I talked to David Icke, you know, I remember because I got a couple of messages afterwards, and he even said something to me. Because I asked him at the end of the show, the first show, and I said to him, wow, you must have some really, some really close connections around you supporting you. He said, absolutely. My ex-wife, my sons. That's the personal stuff. That's the real stuff, right? That's what we need to be exposed to. We know about all the fuckery, and we know about all the double dealing, and we know about this, but it was there for a reason. It was there for us to provide, to be a catalyst, to provide us, the raw material for the alchemy that we're creating, or at least being given the opportunity to create. So, it's important that we can have open discussions without expectations in an atmosphere where we're not going to be judged. And you know what happens is, and I watch it happen on my show, on the show that I'm involved with, people step out a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and they become a little braver and braver, and they realize it's painless. It's actually, it happened to me yesterday. I went to see my mother. And 6 years ago. Yeah. No. This is back in 2012. In 2012, I had an altercation with my mother. I'm sorry, December of 2011. 7 months into being homeless. And there was a lot of dynamics involved that she didn't know about. And just through a conversation, I started to tell her about this. It was just in the context of the conversation. I started telling her about this specific period of time, 2-3 week period of time, where I had already awakened. I was having divine episodes and apparitions and the whole 9 yards, but I was also on the streets and living a wild life. And all this stuff was going on. All these dynamics of a very traumatic nature involving my children and my wife and all this stuff, right? The police and drug dealers and all this stuff. And in telling the story organically, without expectation, without agenda, I could feel the tear. It took me 15 minutes of holding back tears. I could feel the energy in my heart bursting open. And I knew that something magnificent was happening. And I sent her a note after I got home, and I told her what happened. And I said, thank you for bearing witness. I interviewed or had a show with Lisa Harrison out of Australia, who's very dynamic, very substantial in terms of what she brings to the table. And I can't remember why I brought that up. I can't remember now. But anyway, I just sharing the information, sharing the real stuff with each other, the human stuff, not the victimization. Now, you may need to tell the story, right? But let me ask you a question. Can you prove to me, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that you're a soul and I'm a soul and everyone else here is a soul? Can you prove it? Can you really prove it? You can't. You can't prove it. You cannot prove it in this moment. You cannot pull your soul out of your body and go, here's my soul. Now, let me ask you this. Can you prove that you and I and everybody here has gone through, that is a human and has experienced pain and suffering and lack and loss and sadness and grief? You can fucking prove that. That's the gold. That's the gold. And as we get things off our chest, per se, without blame, because if there is no such thing as forgiveness, there can be no such thing as blame. But as long as we're, you know, blaming, then we're in our own way. And we've got no one to blame but ourselves. So if we have this in common and we can relate to each other and we can admit to each other our things that we don't want to talk about, or we didn't want to talk about, or we thought we couldn't talk about, then guess what happens? That's how our DNA changes. That's how our skills, our higher level skills and abilities and higher sensitivities start to come online. But you know why? Because it's heart-based empathy. You see, we talk about being an empath. I'm an empath. Okay. But you know what? Remember, too much light is the same as too much dark. So if you're going to tell me you're an empath, then you're getting further away from narcissist. How many people here want to admit that they have narcissistic frequencies within themselves? They're one and the same. And the power of that is being able to put yourself in anyone else's shoes, even if you can't understand it. Having the consciousness, having the conscientiousness of going, you know what? I wonder what that feels like when I said that to her or to him, or I did that to him or to her. These are the things. You know, war, the Ukraine war is a perfect example. How many people here, and this is mind-blowing, you know, that think that Vladimir Putin's a bad guy or Russians are a bad guy? We were all raised, I'm 61 years old, raised that the Russians were bad. Well, you know, I'm a history buff. If it wasn't for the Russians lost tens of millions of people in World War II. We didn't lose that many. They were the ones that did all the dirty work. I mean, there's so many different perspectives here. Do you think that the Russian families there's 2 or 3 million people have been dislodged from southern Ukraine? They'll never get to go back to their home. Do you think they wanted the war? But see, as long as we continue to participate and give our power away right here, that's where it is, right here. We can go on water alone. We can go on much less food. There's a lot of things we can do. But why do we do it? Why do we do it? We do it because we're told to. You know, back in my old life, I started out working on houses. And then I moved up in the world and I became a national manager for the biggest company of its kind in the residential home improvement business, the roofing business. And because of my expertise, I ended up putting together a roofing code for the entire country, which was later actually adopted by the insurance companies here, the major insurance companies. So I went around the country and I would say to the roofers in the different regions, because the different regions are like Europe, you know, the different places, they do different things, but everybody has chimneys, right? Fireplaces, right? And you have to flash a fireplace in order to keep the water out. So I went around the country and everybody had a different kind of, I had to find one way to do it everywhere, but everybody had a different way. And I would ask them, why do you do it that way? They said, well, that's the way you're supposed to do it. And I said, well, who told you that? And once I asked them a few more times, they would say, well, that's what this guy taught me. So that's what we do. We were told COVID was this thing that it's not. We were told that the vaccines were something that it's not. And the sad thing is you still have people out there. I go for walks out here and I see people wearing masks driving in their own car. Now, I understand. I'm not looking at that person, you know what I mean? But I'm saying, you know, how much more evidence do we need? That person will change when I change something more in myself, because these changes that we're making are contagious. That's the real virus. It's contagious. People see illumination, they see light. And that's what your point was earlier about looking at someone as yourself. Because nothing has to be said. I say this all the time. What if you and I were sitting here right now at this table, and you sat in one chair across from me and I sat in the other, and we just looked in each other's eyes and said nothing? What do you think would happen? Once we got past the uncomfortable, because this isn't cool, because we're men and we're not supposed to do this or what, but we just looked at each other. The eyes are the mirror of the soul. The eyes are the soul, right? The windows of the soul. All this information, you know, all this coding would go back and forth. And it's the same thing. We're moving into a space, and I believe it's bigger than all of us, and it's kind of going to happen anyway, but we can either let go or be dragged. And when you let go, you have to be willing to let go of everything. I've had to let go of my beloved so many times, energetically, and it's been painful and it's been devastating. But you know what? We get up and we go back to love, and we give it another go. And the same for Sology. So many times I just wanted to quit. I quit. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't live like a hobo. I can't be struggling all the time, you know? And then somebody would send me a message and say, I thought I was the only one. I didn't know there was other people out there like me. All the crazy people, right? All the misfits. But you know what? Crazy ain't crazy anymore. This is the real deal. This is the real mainstream. And the universe is with us. The universe is with us. And that's us. And the universe is with us because we're with us. Because we're investing in ourselves. We're not pointing the finger of blame as much. And the world is trying. We can get into that game and we can say, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, bring it on. Bring it on. Bring on the fake alien invasion. Bring on martial law. Bring on whatever the hell you want to. I don't care. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's see what we're made of. But see, we don't need that type of impetus. We don't need that type of catalyst. We don't have to do that. We can choose the level of transition and evolution. Okay? We don't have to go through the pain and suffering. We go there because we have to be dramatic, and because because that's what we're used to. But we don't have to. And how do you do that? Well, you don't do it tomorrow. You don't do it tonight. You do it right now. Right this moment. I'm right now contemplating inviting 4 or 5 people onto the show that I am energetically, I've collaborated with them all, but we've kind of gone our separate ways, and this has been said and that's been said, and who knows what's been said. I really don't know what's been said, but I tap into my soul. My soul says, invite them on. Have a conversation, even if it's not comfortable. See where it goes. You know, I mean, step out of the box. What's going to happen? Either one or two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to die and death is real, and I'm just going to be a decomposing body that's going to become warm dirt, right? Or I am an eternal soul. Now, regardless of what happens, my actions are going to be the same. And if I'm actually stupid and don't know, or ignorant, or just whatever, and I'm actually going to be worm dirt, then at least I crossed the finish line at full speed, right? And how do I know that the thoughts that I believe and carry forward don't make the difference of whether I'm worm dirt or eternal soul? What if we go through life and we think, oh, I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that, and that's what you get? Man, this is bigger than all of us. I mean, we don't know. This universe is endless. The only thing we know is what we have here and now, the eternal moment. This is it. And I think overall that the universal energy is forcing us to be present, more and more and more and more present. And as we do that, we start to discover the activating magic, the activating property that comes from being present, such as what I experienced with my mother yesterday, or what I'm experiencing with you now. I've never had a show. I've never participated in a show like this. I've never had a 2.5-hour conversation. I mean, I did with Jesse, but this is different. You're not Jesse, and I'm not the Todd I was when I talked to Jesse. Right? I mean, so, I often look at it like this. We're like a dog chasing its tail. And all along, we didn't know it was our tail. And then we bite it and find out, oh, it's us. So the gift, the mission, and the prize is life itself. We're living. We're living. This is why I get frustrated with the drama thing, because I'm just happy to be here with you. And I mean it. I absolutely mean it. And I know people might say, that's, but you're looking at a man who's extremely happy, as holy and whole as he can be, and who values my existence, and who's not going to freak out because the money's low or the car's broke down or the clothes are dirty or whatever. I'm not. So what? Because you know what? The grid could go off tomorrow. That's why I said we're going to be, if necessary, everything will be taken away from us if necessary. But we don't have to do that. This is our choice. And we can do it one by one. With our neighbors, with our spouses, with our children, with our parents. There are people I'm going to see 2 weeks from now that don't like me. And there's a couple that I need to, they're all opportunities. And I'll have 10 days or 12 days to figure out that's the best of my ability, to think about it, to contemplate it. What if they say this? What if they say that? There are many things that they think they know about me that they don't. So I'm going to take as much responsibility as I can for the entire situation and not predicate it on, if they do this, and I'm going to tell them to fuck off, or if they do this, and I'm not going to do that. It's about me. It's all about me. And is that an easy prospect for all of us? No. But it's my strong belief that is the code that we're writing for the universe that only the human being, boots on the ground, can do. How do you transition with technology and everything else in the year 2020s as a human being? This is new coding. This is coding that's never been developed before, that we're actually doing it in the present moment by the choices that we make. The universe is watching.
I remember, thank you so much for that, brother. It's always a delight to share space with you. I first met David Icke, as we mentioned David Icke, and I watched David Icke on your show, and I find him very, very uplifting in so many ways, and he really gets you to think outside of the box, for sure. I remember meeting David 2012 at the Wembley Conference Centre in London, and he did a beautiful seminar. It was called "Remember Who You Are," and that was so powerful. It was, his soul was so powerful. It was incredible. It was about 12 hours of incredible dialogue. I remember him also saying about non-compliance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really powerful. I mean, it's easy said than done, I get, but I mean, I do not comply to bullshit. I've got, at the moment, since January this year, zero tolerance for bullshit. But the thing is, what I try to do, and I'm guilty of this sometimes, and maybe I need to put more boundaries and whatever, is I want the person who's causing the bullshit, I'm trying to like giving them comfort. It's like, who you fooling? I mean, I get people coming here sometimes. We've been in Bulgaria now for the last 10 years. Sorry to say, and I know I've upset a lot of Bulgarians, I do not speak Bulgarian to this day. I'm ashamed to say that. I just haven't picked up the language, but I do speak the universal language of love. And you talked about soul to soul connection. I talk with my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first came here, and my hairdresser once said to me, it's good you don't speak the language, because they wouldn't have taken necessary to your energy, because I'm one of those people, I want to share what I have. You know, I want to share what I have with people, but people bring their agendas to me. You know, like I invite somebody into my home, I share my space, my sacred space with people, and they want to take charge. They want to control. Whereas, you know, I'm treating people the way I want to be treated.
Right.
But sometimes this is not happening. It's a huge test for me, because it's like, you know, I've been tempted to throw in the towel myself a few times about, do I
We all
bother?
have.
You know,
Yeah.
what do you do? But like I said, it's how we energize people and what we see. And I you know, for me, the greatest teachers have been the ones that caused the greatest anguish and pain.
That's what a shaman. That's how a shaman teaches. I'm not saying anyone's a shaman. I'm certainly not saying I am. But if you look at the way, the shamanic way, that's the way it works. They challenge you essentially to stand up for yourself. They challenge you not to just take what they say. You know, and we had a young lady on, 27 years old, a couple of days ago. And she talked about an experience that she had at 15 years old. Now, at 4 years old, she had, I would call, like an angelic experience in the forest with an apparition that downloaded to her like the meaning of her life and purposes. 4 years old. Now, she didn't remember everything. She didn't understand everything to the extent that she would later. But at 15 years old, she was in her room, in her bedroom, by herself, dancing. And everything went black. And she started to feel these hands, like these demonic or dark entity hands trying to grab her. And the darkness closed in and closed in and closed in. And the ultimate story was that this experience that was of seemingly of dark was actually her light doing whatever it could to be seen, so that she would take on the information that was given to her. My life was very much the same. I had things happen, you know, and people were like, "Oh, you deserve it," and da, 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 da. It was my light trying to come out and be heard and seen by whatever means necessary. So it ends up being 2 years on the streets. But so again, you know, I mean, we're in such a state now that the information encoding that's coming in, let's just say each day, certainly you can say this for each month, is mind-blowing. It's like somebody's taken a giant eraser and erasing all the formulas of life off of the chalkboard on the last day of the month when we arrive on the 1st. I used to hear it like this when I was first waking up, that ascension, if you look at ascension on a scale of 1 to 10, and the goal is to get to 10. And on Monday, you get to 10. You wake up on Tuesday, there's a new 1 to 10, and what used to be a 10 is now a 1. And it starts all over. So these higher truths are coming in, and our willingness or unwillingness to accept that we don't know everything, that we could be more open, that we could learn something, or that there is a higher truth, can make the difference of whether or not it's with ease and grace, or more ease and grace, or it's rough. Let go or be dragged.
Robert, thank you very much for that again. And where do you sit with the word mentorship? Because do you feel that it's important when the system, I don't want to sound like collapses, just gives way to a higher perspective, shall we say? Can you visualize some kind of mentorship? Now, for me, my take on the word, if I was to define mentorship, it's an individual, man, woman, or a child, who has the ability to hold an energy, understands energy and vibration and frequency, and doesn't judge you. Are you good? Are you bad? Sees you on a soul perspective, can taste the level, the frequency in which the soul is vibrating. Okay. Do you see that mentor as like helping the development? Because when the interim takes place, because people will still need a form of navigation a little bit, because the word traumatization, because a lot of people have been traumatized. So for them to create this harmony, neutralizing area, can you see a group of mentors coming into the field where they are sort of like guides, guiding people?
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you? I mean,
well, I would, it's not, I'm not one that has an answer for everything.
No,
Number one.
no,
but I would say this, Franco, to me, his chronological intel has been more accurate than anyone I've known. I would say that Edgar Casey and Dolores Cannon and Franco.
Yeah.
Lots of similarities there. But one of the things that he said, and again, this would have been, I would say, probably September of 2021, was that once we took the blue, if we had taken the blue road, which we did, at this time that we're in now, everything would start to come out, and it would be a little bit bumpy.
Yeah.
That by 2024, we would have councils,
right,
all over the world, just as we do, as many of us have experienced in Dimension, in the different, realities. So I think, another thing that we're learning is that if it's not organic, if it's not flowing, in a relaxed, natural way, because I believe we go back to the thing about natural law. What is natural law? Well, it's being natural. Like, we know what fits and doesn't fit. We know what's not, you know what I mean? It covers everything. So moral and ethic and all that goes out the window. But he said that we would have councils. Now, I've said that to a few people on the show, and some of them who are smart, they said we already do. And they're right, because part of this this experiment and experience that we're having, part of the illusion is this is all we are. So we are multidimensional. We are communicating, and I could look at my wife and I as a perfect example. We've had many experiences and many confirmations and many, whatever activations and downloads and experiences together in many, many realms. And we're like this, right? And in this one, we're working it out. And I believe that's how it is for all of us individually, in partnerships, and with our brothers and sisters, and as a collective. We're figuring that part out. And as we get more memory of the multidimensional existence that's happening at the same time, and I don't mean it to sound like the way everybody says it. I mean to say it as that information it's happening now, and that information is just as available to us right now. But yeah, so I think that there's a natural kind of a revealing that's occurring. Like, we think about the word apocalypse, and we all know that it's the etymology of it originates in the Greek language, and it means unveiling. So we think of unveiling as all the bad stuff, like, what's buried under the Vatican, and and Illuminati and all that stuff, right? But it's also the great revealing of us. That's what it is. And so, a lot of times when my wife and I connect, and the feminine most of the time is the channel. She's the one that picks up on stuff. And we'll occasionally ask questions like, well, what's going to happen? When are we going to get back together? And they'll say, you have no idea what you guys are going to create. You have no, and this is speaking to all of us, right? You have no idea. You can't even comprehend how incredible it's going to be. So I believe that 100%, 1,000%. I believe that. And I believe that every day, if we look at it that way, every day we can remove ourselves more and more and more from that which isn't even real. And you said it earlier. You visualize that earth. I believe you visualize it because you can see it. There are no hospitals. There are no military armies, right? Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, if I may, I also I'm magnetizing things as well, because, like, you magnetize water, you can magnetize your seeds. I'm so privileged and extremely blessed to have, I'm into the farming aspect of growing my own food. So the connection is so profoundly powerful. And I've been living in abundance for quite a while, and most people don't understand what abundance is. It's a state of mind. Heaven is not a place, it's a state of mind. You create heaven or you create hell. So when people come, or better still, we make beautiful salads, and I can give the ingredients to certain people and the recipe and stuff, and go home, and they call me after like an hour, and they say, you told me the ingredients, and I put everything you asked me to put, and it still doesn't taste like when you make the salad. Well, first of all, you the most powerful ingredient you put in is the word love. But the most important is, are you happy when you're making the salad? And the thing is, even when you're sitting down at a table and you're pretty mindful, and you say your grace and thank you for the food and blah blah blah, you could have the best quality ingredients on the table, but you might not digest it. You're not happy. For me, that state of happiness ecstasy only is the true reveal. When you understand the essence of why you open your eyes, whether it's in the morning or you wake up in the afternoon, I don't know, but to know and for you to say thank you for the opportunity, because I see myself, my father and I, we are one. But there are many layers, there are many levels of consciousness, and how we attach ourselves to that level. But truly, it's unprecedented event. I genuinely know it in my heart, and we're definitely on the same page on that as well. That it's going to be something that's never happened. And my understanding is that we're going to activate the macabre body, the rainbow body, as different labels, different this, that, and the other. But you will park the vehicle at will. Death will not seem to be such a trauma, fear-based. It would be an honor to park, because you are going to pick up another version, which is you. I've had incredible experiences where you don't feel you have a body. It's so powerful.
Sure.
I've been out. I've had transmental meditation where I've met. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't say a lot, but the thing is, a few years ago, I met my non-biological parents, and it's like a central sun within the core of the planet, and it's like having this omni experience where it's pure telepathy, it's pure knowing. And I promised myself, and that's why, Franco, I didn't cry when Franco died, because I know that death is an illusion. It doesn't exist. So, and I promised myself that I would never get morbid with the idea or dress up in certain colors that, it's I'm not going to go into the game of it being satanic or angelic and satanic, but I know that in the hierarchy of the Galactic Federation, how it operates between 1 and 10 and 5 being neutral, and not just being neutral, anything below 5 is non-angelic. Their technologies are incredible, but they're practicing killing. And 5 and beyond is angelic. They don't practice in killing. So they have no pleasure or joy. So what we are, the nucleus of who we are is fundamentally is do no harm. This is important, and not imposing on the freedom to allow people to express fully without judgment, saying good or bad. You know what I mean? So it's bringing that balance, and I genuinely believe that this conversation also, and your beautiful platform, and gpms.world, and it's coming together as a unified field, and creating this brotherhood and sisterhood, and holding each other, not saying I am better than you, we're all equal at the end of the day. And having met people like Rick, and I'm honored that you are great friends, and Lee Mudway as well. I mean, these are, and a few others as well, I'm not mentioning, forgive me. Incredible. They've changed my life forever in the most profound way. Like, I'm experiencing your energy right now, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity, because I've witnessed you for many, many years, and I never thought I'd have the opportunity to converge, and to really lock eyes with you like we're doing today, and really expressing ourselves fully. And this is what the activation is all about. This is about when 1 + 1 is 3 and more, because that's the name of the game. That Trinity that we're talking about is so profoundly powerful, and we will not need any form of system in place, like a school system. And forgive me, I'm sending love to the schools. I send, I go to church sometimes, and some of the beings there, they might see me as the antichrist. I'm not anti. I'm shit. I'm not. I don't. I'm not against anything in the sense that, like you said earlier, it's like people have been traumatized at birth, separation of mother being not the fundamental, being not just the biological separation, but the non-biological parents, not knowing the connection, because the way that everything is done it's not natural, and so you're going against the natural law, so that's affecting you in like
You
we're
go, yeah. I mean, you could even say that the natural law, that the barometer of the natural law is your soul. So the question is real simple. And again, I know I carry a charge. I have more patience now than I ever have, but it either goes against your soul or it doesn't. And something that goes against your soul should not be confused with something that upsets the human being.
Yeah.
Because a human being is subjected to the human condition and the programming. That's why this year, I think the real big difference this year is the body is speaking. And the body's telling you this doesn't feel right. There's a difference between that and getting triggered, or emotional at a strictly a human level because somebody hurt your feelings or you didn't like what somebody said.
Yeah.
The body is really the key.
Yes.
And I think we're really starting to experience that, and that's exciting.
Absolutely, brother. And I'm always praying that when I'm engaging with people or a person I've never met before, I'm praying that they're not going to lash out on me in any conceivable way, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in any conceivable way, because I am equal to you. I respect you. I love you. But people often condemn this, as the saying goes, what they don't understand. Because, and I'm not egoistic. I do, like a composer, I do up and lower, so that I can feel the sense, because like I can talk to a man on the street, I can talk to someone who's a bit bourgeois middle class as well, so I can converge the energies. You have to go up and down sometimes, but
you have to go. You have to go down for the rich bastard and up for the homeless person.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I had to throw that joke in there. I had to throw that joke in. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that's what's occurred. Has everyone was subject to a condition and a paradigm where they were considered small, and so everything, it's like Stockholm syndrome. It's like
Munchausen syndrome.
Where you get a little bit of something and you think it's something. It's kind of like in the United States. I mean, they took away a lot of rights with 9/11. We know 9/11 was bullshit. Okay. And then they give a little bit back, and you think you actually gained something when you've actually lost more than you get. Then you know what I mean? They're just giving you something back that was already yours. So all of that stuff is the part of us that's where we talk about the traumas that we have on a personal level, but we've had trauma on a collective level. And if you think about something like the atomic bombs that got dropped in Japan, you got to know that had a huge effect on the DNA and the somatic system of the people in that area. And also, what about, the people that were involved with it? I mean, there's just so much going on there. But I think that the overall, the world has, or the way this was all set up is we created all these different timelines based on our thoughts that were stemming from a distorted realm. Yeah. And now we've worked hard to bring it down to one timeline. What is that timeline? That timeline is you being you, me being me, and everybody being themselves, So I feel good about it.
I'm excited, brother.
It's a 3-hour show. That's
And the other thing I was going to end it on, if I may quickly as well, I don't believe in competition either. I mean, it's like I'm a value builder, not a value destroyer. And this, what we're creating is so profoundly new. It's fresh, and it's a huge upgrade, and it's truly exciting. And I see you as a beautiful alliance for us to work together. And I see myself in you. And I trust you, I love you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving Bioactivator the opportunity to express itself. And I'm truly excited in connecting you with us again in the foreseeable future. And you're welcome anytime, and thank you so much for the opportunity and the pleasure of being in such a beautiful company.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm always open to collaboration. And
and what I'll do is, in due course, my son has already sent you a message as well, and he's a beautiful boy. I'm not saying that because he's my son, obviously, but we're very, very proud of him. And
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. And
all right, brother. I appreciate it. You take care.
Peace and love.
I look forward to collaborating again in the future.
Much love.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and